Good afternoon, Ghana. It's 12 o'clock. Time to reach for mobile water. Mobile water, unique in every way.
47 days to the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Hashtag Stop Galamsey now still on. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The Midday News is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM. MyJoyOnline.com. We are live in all 16 regions. Lolonyo FM in Hohoe, Ganga FM in Jirapa. We are on X Spaces here on Facebook. The Midday News is supported by Petrosol Platinum Energy, energizing dreams. This afternoon, tensions rising as Parliament reconvenes tomorrow, with the NDC caucus asserting itself as the majority group despite a Supreme Court order. We have details including allegations from NDC MPs that the government is planning to deploy soldiers to Parliament on Tuesday, setting the stage for what some are predicting will be a showdown.
Some elements of government have had a meeting again to deploy the military to the precincts of Parliament to enter the tent. We are aware of that. Point in time tomorrow, they repeat the same misconduct. We can guarantee them the people of this country are sovereign.
We'll get to hear from a member of the Council of State who is calling for coup heads.
I don't think it's in our own interest, because the kind of confusion which is being created now, I do not know where it's going to lead this nation.
Also, this afternoon, High Court dismisses application by PNC flag bearer Bernard Mona to restore him to the presidential election following his disqualification. We have details, plus speak to the party on their next line of action. Also, kidnapped, beating and equipment seized. Joy News journalist Erastus Asaridonko recount his and his crew near-death experience at a mining site as the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining calls on the IGP to arrest and prosecute those responsible swiftly.
Where is the owner? He said the owner has asked them to stop the vehicle and deal with us there. I said, what are you going to do exactly? I got 2 hot slaps from behind. Then they opened the doors and asked everybody, pushed everybody out. Then the beating started.
We have details of that, plus sports.
Informed Black Stars players at club level raised concerns about the competence of Coach Otuado.
And much later, the 2-time NSMQ champion St. Augustine's College cruise your way into the quarterfinals, leaving TI, Mask, Marcy and Queen of Peace SHS behind in the heated 1-8 stage contest.
The contest speaks for itself. It was a dominating contest from our boys. 73 points. You should tell at the other schools that we have come and we are not playing, we are not joking around.
That and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. Please do stay for details. Many thanks for your company. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, barely 24 hours for Parliament to reconvene. There's tension as both the NDC and NPP caucuses in the House carry themselves as the majority in Parliament. The NDC in Parliament alleges there are moves by the NPP government to deploy soldiers to Parliament on Tuesday. It follows the tense past few days after the Speaker declared 4 seats vacant, but the declaration had been stayed by the Supreme Court. We'll get to hear from the caucus's chief whip, but first, here is a report by Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante, who traces back the military deployment to the first day of the 8th Parliament and this region controversy.
It was midnight on the 7th of January 2021. Heavily armed soldiers were deployed into the Chamber of Parliament. The election of the Speaker was ongoing and the tensions were palpable. After intense confrontation between the NDC MPs and the soldiers, the military withdrew. The 8th Parliament started on a chaotic note and looks set to end on an even worse note. It follows the declaration made by the Speaker of Parliament declaring 4 seats vacant.
I proceed to inform the House that by the notification of the polls, the following members of Parliament have by their actions vacated their seats in Parliament.
This declaration has since been stayed by the Supreme Court, which ordered the Parliament of Ghana to allow these MPs perform their responsibilities. The NPP side lauded this as victory for democracy.
We are Democrats. We don't believe in violence. We don't believe in mischief and unnecessary political chaos. We came to court believing that the court would do right, and indeed the court has just done that.
But the NDC MPs insist they are the majority in the House, despite the highest court's ruling.
The NDC now constitute the majority caucus in this 8th parliament. We will jealously protect our new majority status and will not bow, retreat, nor surrender our lawfully earned status.
Yeah. With the House set to resume on Tuesday, tensions are at a high, with influential Ghanaians calling for calm and cool heads to prevail.
Well, the MP for Adaklu and Chief Whip of the NDC caucus, Kwame Governs Agbuja, says they will resist any attempt to deploy military to Parliament on Tuesday when the House reconvenes.
If you notice, on that fateful day of the beginning of this Parliament, it was government that ordered the military and the police to enter the chamber and assault members of Parliament. Indeed, my colleague, Honorable, our colleague, filed a motion for those individuals, of which we have details of those military officers and what they did in the chamber. But I can guarantee you it's not yet sunset on those issues. Just to add, we are aware that between yesterday and today, some elements of government have had a meeting again to deploy the military to the precincts of Parliament to enter the tent. We are aware of that. We can just ask those around the Accra Sports Stadium that at a point in time tomorrow, they repeat the same misconduct. We can guarantee them the people of this country are sovereign. If you wear a military uniform or police uniform, you work to the Constitution. But they should be aware that the life of this government is less than 2 months. They will have to account for their conduct in 2020 and whatever they do tomorrow. But they shouldn't be surprised the people of this country would react forcefully to any misconduct of anybody in uniform on Tuesday and beyond.
But member of the Council of State and former GBA President Samuel Kujetu says the tension is not good for the country. He, however, wants the orders of the Supreme Court to be respected and asks those who disagree to resort to the use of the law. He spoke to me on The Probe.
Well, it just had to be clear to all of us that Parliament makes the law, but Parliament does not interpret the law. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It was not Parliament that made the Constitution. It's the people of Ghana. If you read the preamble, it's quite clear. I don't think it's in our own interest. Because the kind of confusion which is being created now, I do not know where it's going to lead this nation. If a Supreme Court has urged, you go to the court to go and argue them to change their mind if it is possible. That is all that there is to it. He seems to be quoting the Constitution. I'm telling him that the Supreme Court, according to our Constitution, has an overall jurisdiction on all matters. And that when they were talking about human rights, who took the people to the matter to the Supreme Court, to the Supreme Court because of violation of human rights? Who did? Who said that? They are the one fabricating that. There was no such application, so far as I am aware, that the matter they took the Supreme Court was a violation of human rights. Constitutionally, it is only the Supreme Court that has the power to interpret the Constitution, not Parliament. Not Parliament, not the High Court. Indeed, the Constitution says that if a matter is pending before the High Court and there is an issue of constitutional interpretation, they must stop and refer the matter to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to run it.
That's a member of the Council of State and former GBA President Samuel Kujetu there speaking on The Probe. Let me bring in the First Deputy Majority Whip, Habib Idris. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. First, though, how do you respond to your colleagues who insist they are in the majority in the House?
Good afternoon, and I think that our colleagues yesterday, I listened to their press conference, still insisting that their majority is just their desperation of being majority. I have said it before. If you look at the claim that they are having for being majority was to the effect that the Speaker of Parliament had read a ruling on Thursday on the 17th saying that 4 of our members are no more members of Parliament or their seat is vacant. And then we, in the majority caucus, as law-abiding citizens, we did the right thing. We could also elect to say that the Speaker has no authority to interpret the Constitution or declare those seats vacant, and for that matter, we don't respect him. But what we elected to do was to go to the appropriate forum, which is the Supreme Court, that has the power to interpret the Constitution in Article 97, 1G. And then the writing was done. The stay of the ruling of the Speaker was granted by the Supreme Court by 5-0 panel judges. And for that matter, tomorrow when we go to Parliament, we are just majority. The whole thing is back to factory research, means that we are going to sit in our majority side on our seats because we are 138 members based on the Supreme Court ruling, and they are 137. So we are majority.
Okay, but let me find out about that Supreme Court decision, though. Has that been officially communicated to Parliament now as you speak? Because we know per the agreement, it's supposed to be served on Mondays, at least between the judiciary and the legislature. That's the agreement. But as at the last check, are we sure that that decision has been duly communicated to Parliament?
What I am positive about is that I cannot say for sure whether it has been served on to the Speaker, but it will be served today. Today it will be served. And then if you look at the posture of the Speaker on Thursday, you could be able to say that he ignored the court when he was taking the decision, because he admitted to the fact that there was a court service, that is the injunction, and that was served on the Director of Legal at Parliament.
Okay.
But they wanted to play the game around it. But the Speaker himself admitted to
but more substantively, Mr. Habib, to the extent that the NDC side says they've not been communicated to, or this service is not being served on the Speaker or Parliament for that matter, they insist that they are the majority.
Is not the one they're supposed to serve.
And I'm saying they say the Speaker has not duly communicated to them officially.
We still at midday yet. The day finishes around 5 p.m. It can be served on him at any time, and it is not the NDC caucus that is going to be served. To serve them in what capacity? Because what I just want to say, and to be able to say that we respected the rule of law, we respected the decisions, and we went to the right forum. So they should also respect. If they will not respect the decision of the Supreme Court, we will not respect the decision of the Speaker, because that will not stay. It has already been stayed down.
Well, the entrenched positions taken by the two sides, both the NPP and the NDC, most people have described as a recipe for chaos, and that showdown that we are all avoiding. Are there moves in particular between the two sides, the leadership of two sides, to ensure that there's some cool heads that will prevail ahead of tomorrow's sitting?
Yeah, exactly what the leadership is trying to do. We're trying to be able to build consensus, and the beginning of this Parliament, that's what we have been doing. Much to do with the fact that there is a position taken by the NDC caucus or the minority caucus, and a position taken by us, the majority caucus. Our position is that, yes, the Speaker was not even invited to make a rule under Order 93 of our standing orders. It was unnecessary, it was uncalled for, but it has happened, and we went to the appropriate forum. Then that decision has been stayed. So it means we have to respect the decision of the Supreme Court. And if they are coming in the chamber to say that they are majority, on what basis will they say they are majority?
And leadership can give us an assurance that there will be no chaos in Parliament tomorrow.
Let's see what happens. We will not assure what we know, and what I can.
You cannot assure.
That I cannot assure whether there will be chaos or there won't be chaos. It depends upon the way they behave. If they decide to disrespect the decision of the Supreme Court, we will also disrespect the decision of the Speaker.
Well, there are concerns about the deployment of the military to Parliament tomorrow. Is that true? That's what the minority is saying. Are we hoping to avoid that happening?
We in the majority have not been notified by any presence of any military people. The majority leader, who is the leader of government business and the leader of the House, have not been communicated to by the presence of any military there. And in any case, we won't need any military there. There are those who have been singing and chanting their war songs because they are from the revolution. We are law-abiding citizens, but what we know is that we'll protect the Constitution, which is supreme. Parliament is not supreme. The supremacy of the Republic of Ghana lies in the Constitution, and the right forum to interpret that Constitution is the Supreme Court.
We are grateful. That's the First Deputy Majority Whip Habib Idrisu there speaking to us here on the Midday News. Now, the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining is demanding the Inspector General of Police arrest and prosecute owners occupants of a mining site at Asumenya near Mansonkrang in the Ashanti region who kidnapped, beat and seized the equipment of 3 staff of the multimedia group, including my colleague Erastus Asaridonko. Over 10 heavily built armed men forcibly abducted the team, took them to an undisclosed location, subjected them to brutalities, and later abandoned them to their fate while filming the destruction caused by illegal mining. Erastus Asaridonko shared his harrowing experience.
Midway into filming, then we overheard one of the boys talking on the Motorola that some media people are here, so you guys should come. Then we saw vehicles approaching. Then heavily built men, all holding pump-action guns and assault rifles, set out. And they angrily approached us, commanded the camera guy to bring the camera. And they seized the drone, they conducted body search of all of us and took our phones, everything they could find. Then they ordered us under the back of the gun to move into our vehicle and follow them. So I asked them, where are you taking us? Then the guy said, the owner of the mining site wants to speak to us. I said, fine. When we reached the next town, they bypassed the next town and were going into the bush. So I stopped the vehicle and I asked them, where are you taking us? Because we said we were going to the next town. Now we drove for about 30 minutes into some bush. Then they stopped the vehicle and asked us to get out. So at that point, I was a bit scared because what are they going to do? What was running in my mind? Are they going to shoot us? And I asked the guy, why are we here? Because he said we are going to meet the owner. Where is the owner? He said the owner has asked them to stop the vehicle and deal with us there. I said, what are you going to do exactly? I got 2 hot slaps from behind. Then they opened the doors and asked everybody, pushed everybody out. Then the beating started. Slaps, punches, here and there. All of them, one will get out and slap you, the other guy, once you're talking, will slap you from behind. Just like that. And they continue. Then they said I should open my phone, give them my password, for them to format my phone. I said, why would you want to format my phone? They said I have taken pictures of the site, so they want to delete the pictures. I said, fine. Then I received 2 hot slaps. So at that point, really, I wasn't really in the mind. So I said, fine, okay.
Well, Erastus indicates what happened when the police took them back to the site.
We drove all the way to Mansour Dubia, filed the case. They gave us forms. We went to the Agro-Isum hospital. And then we came back. They gave us a task force made up of about 8 armed policemen. So we went back to the site to identify them. This time, we met all, in fact, if not all, majority of the people, they were there, the heavily built men. This time, they were not with their guns. And they started exchanging words with the police. The police asked them to board the vehicle. They said they won't. One of them in the local parlance said, "You're buying a waffle."
Wow.
You're buying a waffle. They are plenty.
What's the translation of that?
So, in effect, he was telling them that this is their government. They do what they want. So they won't board the vehicle. In fact, I captured all that on video. Then, true to their word, they did not board the vehicle. They just ignored the police and moved out. So they could not arrest them.
That's my colleague Erastus Asaridonko. Their crime was to film the impact of illegal mining in that area. We've been hearing from the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Kenneth Ashibe, demanding the IGP acts on the matter.
The whole thing about this genocide and ecocide, and then combined with that is this attack on journalists. And it's completely unacceptable, for the police to, invite people they should even be arresting, who are in the middle of the theater of a crime, who have kidnapped a journalist, who have kidnapped, who are beating up journalists. The fourth estate of the realm. If the executive had been attacked, if the legislature had been attacked or the judiciary had been attacked, is it the attitude the police are going to, going to show? So I think that We all need to be, I don't even know what word to use, but this is not anything that we are going to leave. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, when we heard it yesterday, we immediately are taking steps to ensure that justice is done for the attack on Erastus.
Well, we've been hearing from private legal practitioner Martin Pebu. He's even going a step further, demanding that the mining site owners be arrested.
I'm extremely shocked that we have the what we call accused person, or let me say the prime suspects before the police, and the police are not arresting them. The owners must be the first to be taken in, because obviously, on the facts of this case, they've hired other persons to commit a crime for them, so they have to be taken in. I'm seeing the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act being applicable. If you employ somebody to come and do such vigilantism, you yourself, you are liable.
Well, in the last few minutes, the Multimedia Group Limited has issued a statement on what exactly my colleagues went through at the hands of these armed men at this illegal mining site. My colleague Elton Broby joins me in studio. What is the company saying?
Well, the state strongly condemns the violent attacks on 4 team members by armed men at Osumenya near Manson Kwanta in the Ashanti region on Sunday, October 20, 2024. The team, according to the statement, was covering the recent resurgence of destruction in parts of the newly restored Asumenya Forest Reserve through Galamsey, as well as the pollution of streams feeding into the Ankobra River. During the assignment, more than 10 heavily armed men wielding pump action gun attacked and assaulted the crew, forcibly adapted them to a remote location, subjected them to physical abuse, and later abandoned them at a remote location. The statement says that the statement denounced this attack on our journalists and called on the Ghana Police Service to ensure that the perpetrators are swiftly brought to justice and all those involved made to face the full extent of the law. No journalist should ever be subjected to such brutality for simply doing their job, especially when they are dealing with such an ecologically devastating matter as Galamsey. As the fourth estate of the realm, journalism plays a key role in highlighting issues that affect our society. It is in the light of that we call for greater protection of journalists. This is signed by the head of HR here.
Thank you very much, Elton Broby there. That's the statement from the Multimedia Group Limited. Meanwhile, it's been 2 weeks since organised labour led by the Trade Union Congress called off its planned demonstration intended to push President Akufo-Addo into taking decisive action on the Galamsey menace after the Land and Natural Resources Minister, in collaboration with the security agencies and regional ministers, sent security men to crack the whip. Other demands, including the repeal of the LI 2462, is yet to be done. Here's a news desk report.
Our strike remain unchanged. I want to repeat, the strike notice remains unchanged.
That was the clarion call by organised labour pressuring government to stamp out the menace of illegal mining that had ravaged forests, reserves and water bodies. They mirrored the nation's anger, signalling that they were unprepared to back down until the following demands were met.
The government will collaborate with organised labour and the stakeholders in the fight against Galamsey. Number 2, the government will take steps when Parliament reconvenes this month to revoke the Mining and Forest Reserve Regulation 2023 LI 2462. Again, government will ramp up its enforcement measures, particularly prohibiting the mining in water bodies and forest areas.
However, the demonstration, which was widely anticipated, was suspended just a day before its start. Labour leaders announced that they had received assurances from government that it would address their list of demands. Chief among them would be the repeal of the legislative instrument 2462, which legalizes mining in forest reserves.
Following this meeting, government offered enhanced and time-bound measures in respect of our demands and the fight against illegal mining. Organised labour has therefore decided to suspend the intended strike action.
But the crux in labour was deep. UTAG was livid about the turn of events, insisting that it was a wrong move. After those teetering 2 weeks, it appears that government's promises have not been fully realized. While some action has been taken, such as the deployment of military personnel to known Galamsey hotspots, these measures seem far from comprehensive. But the real question is, where is organized labor? Have they gone to sleep?
That's a news desk report put together by my colleague Mami Senior Meche Thompson. Let's do sports. Mubarak, what do we have?
Yes, Emefa. So 6 players invited for the 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Sudan were on the score sheet for their respective clubs over the weekend. They include Inaki Williams, who scored 2 goals for Athletic Bilbao in their victory over Espanyol in La Liga. In the Premier League, Jordan Ayew and Mohamed Kudus were also on the score sheet, raising questions about why Ghana struggled to score in 180 minutes against Sudan. Victor Atucha has more.
The performances we saw over the weekend prove that the Black Stars coach has enough quality to work with. For the first time in our history, we've got more than half of the current team playing for clubs in Europe's top 5 leagues, and each of them is a starter. Look, if they are all excelling at high-pressure clubs but failing in Ghana colours, then they cannot be the problem. It is up to the coach to find the right mix, create an enabling environment or the right culture around the team to allow these players to excel when in the national team.
Yeah, so Victor Achuta there with that report.
It's time for our Streets of Despair. And at just 5 years old, Ernest Opoku was forced to abandon his dreams of becoming a doctor, told to quit school and rear livestock instead. In a similarly tragic twist, Kofi Appiah also found himself on the streets, fleeing the neglect he faced at home. In this episode of Streets of Despair, Clinton Yeboah explores the stories of these survivors whose lives reflect the harsh realities of family abandonment.
Here is Ernest, but that's not his birth name. Born as Opoku Somi in the Wa Municipal District in Ghana's Upper West region, the then 16-year-old changed his name to shed the memories of neglect and rejection he has endured from his own family. At an ambitious age of 5, he was told blatantly to quit school. So my young siblings were allowed to go to school, but I was not. I resisted my exemption. I cried. A cobbler, Kofi Boateng, makes way through the crowd trying to spot dirty shoes. His situation mirrors Ernest in several ways. I couldn't continue after I trained as a chef, so I stopped to scout for a livelihood with no support at all. The family support was one-sided, and I received none. Under a cold weather without shelter, he passes the night under the Asafo Bridge against security vulnerabilities. Womanizing and bad company are such killers of good life. I faced the same growing up, and that is my advice to young people. The phenomenon of streetism has been majorly fueled by family neglect and social pressures. On the streets of Kumasi, many of these children are growing without guidance, shelter and security. The long-term effects are devastating. Professor Kojo Oforidua is an associate professor at the Department of Sociology and Social Work at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
There are multiplicity of factors: broken homes, neglected parents, abusive rural urban migration, poverty. How do we solve these issues? The social welfare is supposed to relate in this. Unfortunately for them too, they also have problems.
Well, and just before we head out, Mami Jumo, one of the 2 young victims of a tragic East Legon road accident that occurred on October 12, was laid to rest on Saturday amidst an outpour of emotions and anger. We've been hearing from father of the 16-year-old whose reckless driving led to the death. Bishop Salifo Mako, addressing the congregation during a Sunday service, stated that the incident involving his son was an accident and that he did not carry a gun to kill anyone.
It is an accident. It is an accident. My son did not carry a gun to kill someone. God himself in a terrible accident. And another one do it. And yet, that is mother. Yet I'm listening to it is my name. The demons of my name. This thing is going everywhere. If this council have engaged himself in a car accident.
And this has generated a lot of talk on social media, reacting to the aftermath of the incident on Kofi TV. The grandmother of Justine Agbenu, one of the deceased 16-year-old, the guy that caused the incident, must be severely punished to deter others from engaging in such nefarious activities.
Akwano, he must face the law, full to the extent, so that it will serve as a deterrent. So, the parents should be more responsible. Say yes, the parents were picked up. And said, no, I could be friendly. You were granted bail. And you said, justice will bring my granddaughter back, but to serve as a deterrent. Now,
and that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otibol is up next. Take Bold Steps, Episode 6.